Y'all, Wizard101's biggest update is right around the corner, and today we have a dope video because they gave me exclusive teasers to share with y'all. Now, just like every update, right, they're gonna be PvP banning some spells, but unlike other updates, instead of just keeping a bunch of spells banned, they're gonna be replacing them. So today we're gonna be talking about all the spell bans, but also I'm gonna be showcasing some new spells we've never seen in the game before. I'm gonna jump right into it because I'm kind of excited about this. The first spell that they're gonna be adding in this upcoming update to replace a banned spell is Courageous Charge. So as you guys can see, this is a balance spell. It does 130 damage, which is honestly, yeah, that's fine for a balance spell. But the real story here is in the utility. So what it looks like it does is if your opponent has an aura, you will also receive an aura as the balance casting the spell. And it looks like it's a universal 20 pierce aura. Now keep in mind, they're adding a bunch of auras, including even like harmful auras in this upcoming update. So you could actually maybe put a harmful aura on your opponent and then echo it, if I'm understanding this right. So not only could you punish your opponent for casting auras, you could also cast an aura on your opponent and then echo it back. That's a type of like craziness that balance could be able to do. I think it's worth noting that, you know, balance is one of those schools that has, you know, spells that do other school damage. Any spell like gaze, like spectral, like hydra, like scales of destiny, all of those are going to benefit a lot from universal buffs. And it looks like the actual echo on Courageous Charge will be the most powerful buff that you could use in PvP. So for any of those types of spells, we now have a really cool way to buff it that we've never had before as balance. So yes, it looks like this spell is finally getting banned in PvP. It does an obscene amount of damage for your opponent, you know, using like a brace or like using an aura. The fact that this is getting PvP banned is a really big deal. I think there were a lot of issues with this spell. For one, it ignored the actual effects of the aura when it, you know, destroyed it. So even if you had like a resist aura, the spell, like, you know, like literally ignored it. And obviously the pip cost of it for 400 damage, it was absolutely crazy. And with the way damage and pierce is going for balance, this is an easy 1000 damage minimum no matter what school you're doing it against. Now it looks like your response to an aura as a balance is going to be closer to like 400 to 500 damage, but I would say that the utility that you get for it could be worth way more than that in terms of offense. Honestly, a really W replacement in my opinion, because you're not really losing a response to an aura as a balance. Moving right on, what you see on your screen is a new spell that's coming to Wiz called Psyched. Now, it looks like it's going to be replacing Mana Burn, which, yes, that does mean that this spell, which has probably taken over PvP forever, if y'all had any doubts in your mind about this, I can confirm straight from the source, gonna be in the next update. Mana Burn is getting banned in PvP. The biggest meta shift that we've ever seen from balance ever. And honestly, y'all, the replacement spell, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. I'm gonna be honest, like, it's a flat damage 5-pip hit, which on the surface, it looks cool. But the second that you use any, you know, balanced school pip 5-pip hit, like Samurai or Savage Paw, you are getting, not only are you getting more damage, but you're also getting more utility. So could I see people using Spinning Scythe? Of course, but I do think I'll see them using other spells before it, which doesn't really make sense. But I think for PvE, if you're not like a school pip type of person, now you have a really solid mid-tier hit. Not a bad idea in PvE to carry in your deck. Now brace yourselves for this one, because honestly, this one is low-key the one I'm very excited about. Shift is going to be PvP banned. Now, from what I've been given, these seem to be the 3 big Avalon spells that are getting PvP banned. If you have a spell in your spell book from Avalon that's like, you know, not in this video, there's a chance that it's probably not PvP banned. Maybe Snowdrift, not PvP banned, who knows? But the reason they're PvP banning Shift isn't like Mana Burn or Aura Pop being like OP. Shift is just outside of, I think, the identity that they're building for Myth. They're building like a shield and trap and overtime identity that's weak against overtimes, but Shift kind of like, you know, turns that on its head. But the spell that are getting in replacement is actually something that I think any school could use if it's accessible to them. What you see on your screen is the new spell that's incoming called Purge, which is a multi-weakness clear. I'm excited about this, y'all. Where was the spell when Juju spam was a thing? Where was the spell when people were running Darkmoor decks and running 10 copies of 3-folds in PvP? Where was the spell, man? But honestly, I can't be the only one who thinks the card art on this looks beautiful. Like, this looks better than anything. I mean, it's like a cleanse charm, but like, you know, multiple. Would you use this on a myth? I totally think if there are metas where weaknesses become a thing, you could use it on a myth. Right now, let's say that you, like in PvP, let's say that you blade up too much and someone scarecrows you. you actually will end up with so many weaknesses that even one of your best hits through weaknesses can't clear all of them. So I could actually see myself running it just in case I overextend, because I've literally done that and lost. I think in PvE, this spell is going to be amazing. I feel like it's actually going to give Myth even more of a support role. If this spell is a TC as well, I would love that. Hopefully Wiz does that so any school can use this. I think this is going to really change up the game, because I know I can't be the only one who's gotten double weakness, triple weakness while I'm fighting a mob, while I'm in PvP. An easy 2-pip answer to that. I mean, that's pretty cool. I think I prefer this over Shift, especially because it makes sense as Myth is an anti-weakness school right now. As if all of this wasn't enough, there's still 2 more PvP bans that they're going to be introducing in the upcoming update. Now these, I'm not really sure they're essentially replacing them, but it's like a ban on a spellman path. One of them is Leviathan. The top path is going to be PvP ban, and I think it follows the same logic as Shift. They're already giving Storm and Myth and all these schools, they're giving them so much school identity around a few hanging effects. Being able to counter an extra one for free just doesn't really make the game balanced. So now, instead of being able to remove blades for free as a Storm, you're gonna have to go into Death. You're gonna have to go into Ice, maybe. I mean, I think Death would be the obvious choice for Storm, and honestly, I feel like in some ways, especially when we're talking about more than 2 blades, it actually makes sense to do that already. But yes, now the only PvP usable version of Leviathan is gonna be the overtime counter, which is the bottom path. Definitely not gonna disrupt the meta too much. There have been games, in my opinion, especially Storm Mirrors with Catch of the Day, which is like a prominent double blade. There have been cases from my experience where Leviathan does break an interaction. So it's nice to see that now there is, like, you know, a reasonable expectation of what Storm can and cannot counter. And finally, because, you know, it's very similar logic to everything else that they've basically, I guess, justified banning in this update, Skeletal Dragon Top Path, which is an overtime, is also going to be getting PvP banned. Now, this one, I feel like, wasn't really, you know, a problem. Like, if it's 8 pips, it's almost fine, in my opinion, as a death to, like, you know, use this in PvP, because there's so many good counters to overtime. Right, if you get this gearheaded, like, you know, by a balance, like, you're basically cooked on the spot. Not to mention the Life and Storm overtime counters that exist. Like, I'm not really sure why they PvP banned this, but either way, Poison is still going to be allowed in PvP in main deck as far as I know, so I don't think this is going to really affect Death all that much. I gotta be honest, I appreciate the approach that they're doing where they're not just banning cards and not adding a replacement. I think that's something that they've been criticized for doing. They like the Winter Moon treatment. Y'all remember when they PvP banned the spell and just, you know, called it a day, and it's gotten until this update that they're actually going to add a PvP usable version. It's good that they're avoiding that, especially because, like, you know, some schools like Balance are getting hit multiple times. Let me know what you guys think of Courageous Charge. Let me know what you guys think of Purge. Very exciting stuff. Let me know y'all's thoughts on the spells. As always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. They awesome, y'all. And yeah.